want to thank you all for coming out and seeing this terribly embarrassing moment that I'm about to present. As I thought about this, I thought, okay, I've got a microphone and a captive audience. How bad can this be? So, I thought about coming home and what that really meant, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized I really don't know where home is even. They say, I guess, that home is where you hang your hat, and I suppose to some part that's probably true, but I think there are special places in our hearts that we all call home, and I've lived in my years in a multitude of houses, but there really were only a couple that I would really call home. The one I want to tell you about tonight is the one that I grew up in. It was located on the outskirts of a small college town, not unlike Shippensburg, and when it was originally purchased by my mother and father, who were married in 1946, it was really nothing more than a dining room, a kitchen, and an outhouse. And the kitchen actually was up on a stilt because the house was built on a hill. And the only room that really had a basement under it was the living room. And over the course of about 20 years or so, my father built that house into a 3-bedroom ranch style with his own hands. And I had the honor and the privilege of helping him build the last room when I was about 12 years old. And I say it was an honor and a privilege because it was for me, and I'm sure that my father, being the saint that he was, went to his grave swearing that he appreciated the help that I gave him with that room. I'm also quite positive that my help was really not needed that much. But alas and alack, he never said anything about it, and I think he tried to express to me how much he appreciated it, and I certainly enjoyed the experience. So that was all part of it. Across from the house that I lived in, there was an open pasture field that we used to play baseball in when I was a kid, and it came complete with cow patties for bases and barbed wire fence for a foul pole. We used to play over there every single day during the summertime, from the time the sun kind of came up over left field and eventually set over right field. That was where we played, and that was one of the great memories, probably my fondest memory of that house. Very much like probably everybody else in the room, there were not just pleasant memories, but there were also some hard memories that go along with making a house into a home. And that was very true for me as well. I had the joy of, I was actually the third child of 4 that was born in that house with my mom and dad, and I had the joy of welcoming my little sister into the world when I was about 9 years old. That was one of the most joyful moments that I think I've ever experienced there. And as I said, playing baseball was another great memory. One of the things that was a little bit on the downside of that was that when I was about 12, I was playing in the front yard with my little 3-year-old sister that I had so joyfully welcomed into the family. And we were called by my mom and dad, who were on the back porch, to come around and talk to them, and they informed us that their oldest son, my 13-year-old brother, had been killed in an accident in my grandparents' farm. So that kind of makes it a little bit of a challenge when you're that age, and having 2 loving parents in a really secure place to call home helps you to eventually get on with your life and make it somewhat normal again. And I was really, really lucky because I had both. So I lived in that house for the first 18 years of my life or so until I got to the point where it was time for me to go to college, and that was probably a good thing because I already knew everything there was to know anyway, as most teenagers do. The one thing that I didn't bank on was finding out that the world actually fights back a little bit when you leave, and me and the world went round and round for quite a little bit, and to be honest with you, the world had the upper hand in the battle for quite a while. By the time I had moved back after college. All of my siblings, and I had two surviving siblings at that point, had moved away from home. And my father had passed away, which left my mother at home to take care of this house by herself. And that was fine for a while. She did a wonderful job, obviously. She raised a family in that home and knew how to take care of things. But eventually the age started to catch up with her a little bit too, and just for no other reason other than health reasons, she was no longer able to take care of the house. So she came to me and said, I'm going to move into an apartment in town. Would you be willing to buy the house? And I sat and listened to what her plan was all about, and she told me that she was planning to move into this apartment. And the more she discussed the logistics of it with me, the more I realized my heart was sinking. And the reason for it was I was still fighting my own demons of immaturity, and I didn't have the funds to pay her what that house was worth. So it was at that point that she gave to me probably the greatest gift of love and grace that I've ever received. She offered to give me the house for me and my family to live in exchange for just maintaining it and taking care of it. And later on, and as she got a little bit older and after we had made our transition, she told me the only reason that I did that is because I just wanted to come back every once in a while and be able to visit my memories. I'm not finished. I'm trying to get it together here. I'm trying to hold it together. So anyway, a couple of weeks after we had that conversation, we both moved into our new houses and everything. And I very, very distinctly remember when I moved in thinking to myself, boy, things are so much different now than they were when I left here the first time, because I no longer had that fool's confidence that I had back then. And I knew that I had a long, long way to go before I could even get close to being in the same category as the previous owners. Thank you, dear. I knew I was in the right place to start that journey, though. I really was, because I was back home. So that's my story.
Thank you.